All right, for more on Canada's big election, I'm joined by William Watson. He's a professor at McGill University in Montreal, and he's also the author of The Inequality Trap, Fighting Capitalism Instead of Poverty. William, thank you for joining us tonight.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
William, Canadians are voting in what looks like going to be a very tight race. Conservative Prime Minister Stephen Harper is fighting for a fourth term. The polls indicated that the frontrunner could be Liberal leader Justin Trudeau. Now, Canada has been hit hard by falling oil and metal prices. The economy technically went into recession earlier this year. The Canadian dollar, the loonie, has lost a quarter of its value against the dollar over the past 2 years. Given this less than stellar economic picture, how big of an issue is the economy in these elections?
Well, I think it hasn't been that big of an issue. Stephen Harper himself is an economist, and he has an economist personality. I'm an economist too, and we're not always the most friendly and affable people. He's a no-nonsense straight shooter, relatively conservative person by Canadian standards, not necessarily by American. But there's been a whole bunch of small issues that have come up over the years that have demonstrated what people regard as a meanness of spirit. I think Harper needed a strong economy to offset that popular increase in, you might say, revulsion. Some of the people who don't like him really don't like him. And he hasn't got a strong economy to offset that. I think you can make a good argument there's been good economic stewardship, particularly after the crash. But we are in the doldrums, probably out of them in the last month or two, probably not soon enough to save him.
All right, so you're saying this is more about personality than anything else, but to his defense, many would say that Canada weathered the 2008 global recession better than most, thanks to Harper's policies. Is this reason enough to re-elect him? Can he still ride on that? Or is he now being damaged by the impact that the commodity slump has had on the economy?
Well, as I say, I think he really needs a strong economy because he's got a bunch of other negatives that don't really have to do with the economy running against him. And he's just not getting a strong economy. And the other parties have, the two main opposition parties have sort of dented potential criticism by being fairly centrist in their policies. The Social Democratic Party, the NDP, traditionally the farthest left party, somewhat controversially said that it's going to balance the budget, and it's going to balance the budget from day one. The Liberal Party said we're not going to do that, partly to differentiate its product, but it's only promising a deficit for the next 3 years of 0.5% of GDP. So surprisingly, although it's a strong card for the Conservatives, the economy really hasn't played in a lot of people's decision-making.
But still, what would you say is the defining economic policy that Harper says that he will implement as opposed to Trudeau and the New Democratic Party's Tom Mulcair? What are the major differences?
Harper promises not to raise people's taxes. Trudeau has promised that he's going to raise the top marginal rate by 4 points. That's for people in the top 1% of the income distribution. Mulcair, for a Social Democrat, has said we don't actually want to raise people's top marginal rates, but what we are going to do is put the corporate rate for large corporations back up about 2 points. So it's fairly clear that if you want either constant taxes or maybe even in the future lower taxes, you vote Conservative. But the polls suggest that the Liberals are out front. And we have results already from Atlantic Canada. There are 32 districts or ridings in Atlantic Canada. At last count, the Liberals were leading or had already won all of them. That indicates, I think, greater strength coming out of Atlantic Canada than had been expected, and probably suggests that the Liberals may be at the top end of their projections, putting them pretty close to a majority government.
Right. Well, William, the Trans-Pacific Partnership has just been finalized. Is this impacting the elections at all? I know the New Democratic Party is against it. How are most of the voters viewing it?
We don't have the agreement. We don't have the written agreement yet. Nobody's read it. You wouldn't want to read it, of course, because it's probably going to be a couple of thousand pages long. The Conservatives got a bump, I think, for a couple of days because it's great that you've done something on the international stage, and this is a substantive and important agreement. it kind of faded after that. The Liberals said they were going to wait and reserve judgment until they had read the document, knowing that the document really wouldn't be ready until after the election, and it's going to take a couple of weeks to read anyway. The NDP, sensing that they were declining in the polls, I think meant to secure their base, they decided to just come out and outright oppose the Trans-Pacific Partnership. They had been tilting towards the center. I think that decision just to say no to the TPP, which is bad diplomacy for Canada, clearly, it may be bad economics, indicated that they had given up their move to the center and were resigned now for third place.
All right, well, we'll see how all of this plays out when we get the results very shortly. Thank you so much, William. Indeed, thank you so much, William Watson, professor at McGill University in Montreal and author of The Inequality Trap, Fighting Capitalism Instead of Poverty.